You ever have one of those mornings where the universe just decides you're the punchline? That was me, coffee mug in hand, ready to soak in a little quiet, maybe check on my rose bushes, when out of nowhere I hear the high-pitched snarl of a dirt bike engine tearing through the air. And not just anywhere. I walk outside, and there it is, bright orange and caked in mud, sitting smack in the center of my front lawn like it owns the place. For a second, I actually wondered if I was still dreaming, because nothing that brazen happens in Willowbrook Estates, right? But nope. This was real. And standing next to that bike, arms crossed, wearing that insufferable smirk, was Jake. Yeah. Karen's kid. 17, cocky as can be, acting like he was untouchable because, well, around here maybe he was. Now for context, I'm not the neighbor who causes trouble. I'd been living here 5 years by then, always followed every ridiculous HOA rule to the letter, and if there's an award for reading the whole 57-page rulebook, believe me, I would have won it. I kept my lawn the way most folks keep a firstborn, every blade of grass in its place, mailbox at precisely the regulation height house, painted in the most HOA-approved shade of beige you can imagine. I paid my dues, kept my mouth shut, and never so much as left my Christmas lights up a day past the deadline. I mean, around here, that's survival. But Karen. Well, Karen Martinez had been HOA president for 3 years by then, and she treated our neighborhood like her own personal kingdom. We're talking the kind of woman who'd measure grass height with a ruler and send you a violation if your wreath was up 3 days after New Year's. She was relentless. And her son, Jake. He was notorious. Rode that dirt bike of his all over the community areas, left muddy trails on the sidewalks, but always steered clear of private lawns until today. So I'm standing there, heart-pounding coffee, cooling in my hand, and I say, "You need to move your bike off my lawn now." I kept it calm, but my grip on that mug was tight enough to leave fingerprints. Jake just laughs, not a normal laugh, more like a bark, and says, "Relax, old man. It's just grass. My mom runs the HOA. What are you going to do about it?" He even kicks at the tire track, grinding it deeper, and then, just for good measure, he throws in, "Maybe you should worry more about your trash cans being out too early last week." I mean, the nerve on this kid. That afternoon, I sat down and did the only thing you can do when you live in a place like this. I filed a formal complaint. I documented everything, took photos of every gouge, made a timeline, attached it all to the email, sent it right through the official channels because that's what you're supposed to do. Next morning, I get a reply from Karen, and you could practically hear her rolling her eyes through the screen. She writes, "After thorough investigation, I find these accusations unfounded and potentially libelous. I advise you to exercise extreme caution when making accusations against board members' families. She even suggests I should spend more time making sure I'm following the rules. You know what I mean? There's something about being gaslit by the very person responsible for the problem that just gets under your skin." Now, most people might have given up there, but Jake, he just kept pushing. Next 3 days, every morning, I'd wake up to new tire tracks, muddy footprints in my flower beds, engine revving under my kitchen window while I'm trying to have breakfast. I tried reasoning with him one more time, caught him just as he was about to ride off. I said, "Jake, this has to stop. You're destroying my lawn and it's going to cost hundreds to fix." He just repeats "hundreds" in this mocking tone, then says, "Maybe if you weren't such a cheapskate, you could afford better grass. My mom says you're just a troublemaker anyway." I could feel my blood pressure climbing. That night, after Jake's little performance, I decided I was done playing their game. Drove to the electronics store, bought the best weatherproof security camera I could find, and installed it right under the eaves pointing straight at my lawn. Next day, it paid off in spades. Jake shows up with 2 of his buddies, spends a solid hour doing wheelies, tearing up the grass, laughing and pointing at my house like this was all some big joke. He even takes a bow toward my front door after this massive skid that left half my lawn looking like a crime scene. I downloaded that footage, made copies. I mean, at this point, I was thinking Karen can't possibly ignore video evidence. But instead of sending it to her, I decided to skip the HOA altogether and call the police. Used the non-emergency line, talked to a Sergeant Rodriguez. Turns out they'd had a few run-ins with Jake already. Minor stuff, but as the sergeant put it, if you've got video that changes everything. Within 2 hours, there's a cruiser in front of my house. Rodriguez and his partner, Officer Kim, notepads out, real serious. I show them the footage, and let me tell you, watching their faces go from polite to stone-cold professional as they realized what Jake had been up to that was almost worth the price of my ruined lawn. We're standing there going over the evidence when, right on cue, I hear that familiar engine roaring down the street. Jake, completely oblivious, comes tearing around the corner, and as soon as he sees the police car, he tries to bail, but too late. Rodriguez steps into the street, tells him to stop, and Jake, for once, actually looks scared. He's stammering, "Yeah, that's me," suddenly looking a whole lot younger and not nearly as smug. Officer Kim explains, "We need to talk about property damage and trespassing. Out come the cuffs." And that's when it happened. The whole neighborhood seemed to come alive, folks spilling out of their houses, everyone watching as Jake Martinez got put in the back of a police cruiser right there on our street. And of course, here comes Karen running out of her house, slippers flying, bathrobe, flapping, face a shade of red. I'd only ever seen on cartoon characters. She's screaming, "What are you doing to my son? I'm the president of this HOA." But Sergeant Rodriguez, cool as ever, just tells her, "Ma'am, your position in the HOA doesn't change the law. Your son's being charged with criminal mischief and trespassing." Karen loses it, points at me, accuses me of targeting her family, starts making threats. But Officer Kim shuts that down real quick, says, "Ma'am, we have video evidence. If you interfere, you could face obstruction charges." For the first time, Karen's at a loss. Her power just evaporates in front of everyone. The police report listed over $800 in damage. Jake pled guilty to reduced charges, got stuck with community service probation, and a bill for the full cost of my lawn repairs. But the fallout, man, that's where the real satisfaction came in. Word spread through Willowbrook like wildfire. At the emergency HOA meeting 2 weeks later, the place was packed. People who'd spent years swallowing Karen's petty rules finally had enough ammo to push back. One of the board members, Patricia, never said more than 2 words at any meeting before stands up and says, "We cannot have a president whose family flagrantly violates the very rules she enforces on others." 3 board members called for Karen's resignation right there. She tried to talk her way out, accused me of setting Jake up, said the charges were fabricated, but her voice was all shaky. No one was buying it. Even her closest ally on the board voted against her. The vote was unanimous. When it hit her, she stood up so fast her chair clattered to the floor, and in front of everybody she screamed, "You'll all regret this. I'll sue every last one of you." But you could hear it in her voice. It was over. And you know what? That lawsuit never happened. Karen quietly moved out 3 months later, and for the first time in years, the neighborhood felt peaceful. People waved again. Kids played on the sidewalks. My grass grew back greener than ever, and every time I mow it, I can't help but think about that day and the look on Karen's face when she realized the rules finally applied to her family, too. But here's the thing, you tell me. Was I right to push it this far, or did I just make things worse? Is it justice when the rule makers finally get a taste of their own medicine, or does it just open a new can of worms? Let me know what you think. Does every neighborhood need a Karen? Or are we all better off when folks like that get shown the door? Drop your take in the comments because trust me, this debate isn't over.